The bubble machine was still humming when the hearse screeched to a halt. We were mid-convoy blackout SUVs, chrome motorcycles, flag waving cruisers and a grieve-wying widow sat in the second row, clutching her husband's folded flag. Then we saw it. A wall of lavender traffic cones. A pastel archway of PVC pipe draped with fake wisteria. Smack in the middle of the county road, blocking both lanes like it owned the place. Standing there, bold as brass, was a woman in a matching lilac pantsuit, holding a clipboard and a Starbucks cup that screamed extra caramel, no depth. That was my first run-in with Linda Grayson, president of Violet Vale HOA, and apparently self-crowned ruler of public spaces. I didn't know her name then. All I knew was someone was about to get a citation for obstruction and maybe hauled off depending on how she played the next minute. I stepped out of my cruiser, 30 years of law enforcement heavy on my shoulders, adjusted my mirrored shades, and said the line I've used too often. "Ma'am, what are you doing?" Linda turned slowly, like a soap opera view lane in a sundress, and flashed a smile as if I just praised her begonias. "Oh, thank goodness you're here. We've been waiting for the light to hit just right. Could you ask your vehicles to kill their engines? The exhaust is fogging up the backdrop." I blinked. Behind her, a guy in a straw hat and cargo shorts crouched next to a tripod-mounted camera. Two women in identical skirts fanned a third, who stood poised with a tea set, looking tranquil. A kid with a frilly parasol was mid-sneeze, clearly allergic to the flowers potted along the median. I glanced past Linda at the convoy stretching nearly a mile. Veterans, family, all in their Sunday best, waiting while this woman staged a suburban Instagram shoot. "You're blocking a funeral convoy," I said. She waved a hand like I just pointed out the grass was green. "Yes, and I'm so sorry for their loss, but we reserved this spot for a critical event. It's the cover shoot for the Violet Vale HOA quarterly newsletter Spring Calm, Volume 18. I radioed dispatch, not trusting myself to respond right away. Here's something most folks don't realize. HOA presidents often slide into power unopposed, unchecked, and sometimes without a clue about real laws. What they lack in authority, they make up for with sheer nerve and color-coordinated letterhead. Linda, I'd soon learn, was the worst of the breed. "Where's your permit?" I asked once my pulse settled. She dug into her oversized tote and pulled out a glitter-edged sheet. I took one look and exhaled sharply. "This isn't a legal document," I said. "It has a gold seal." "That's a sticker." "It's from the HOA's official account. See the watermark?" "I see Comic Sans and a signature from Chairman Paws." "That's our mascot. He's a rescue." I stared at the sky, questioning every decision that landed me here, then walked back to my cruiser and called for backup, not for muscle, but for witnesses. That's when Linda made her first mistake. She stormed up, phone in hand, and declared, "I'm close friends with the mayor's gardener. If you don't want this to blow up into a scandal, I suggest you reroute your little procession." She called a funeral convoy a little procession. That's when I knew this wasn't just another report. This was war. Backup arrived, Officer Sarah Kim, who sized up the scene and muttered, "Oh, this'll be one of those." She started snapping photos while I tried reasoning with Linda again. "Ma'am, you need to clear this now. You can't block county property, especially during an escorted funeral." Linda crossed her arms, raised an eyebrow. "And I need you to respect community culture. We've spent weeks on this shoot. The newsletter goes to over 300 residents, none of whom are burying a soldier today. There's a Marine back there," I said. She blinked. For a split second, I thought humanity might break through, that she'd see the GRAVY tie, apologize, and vanish into the footnotes of neighborhood annoyances. Then she said, "I get it, but isn't the cemetery accessible from the east side?" "We didn't block that." I stared. Sarah coughed. "Ma'am," I said, "that road's been closed since last month's landslide. This is the only way in." Linda turned to her crew. "Can we pause for 5 minutes?" "No," I said. "You can dismantle this now, or face a misdemeanor for obstruction, and maybe several penalties for interfering with law enforcement." Linda, God help me, raked into her bag, pulled out her phone, and started dialing. "She's calling the HOA lawyer," Sarah whispered. "She's calling her sister with a notary stamp," I replied. What happened next wasn't just absurd, it was illegal. One of Linda's minions, a wiry guy named Ted who looked like he hawked essential oils online, yelled at a convoy driver to back up. I stepped in and Linda shrieked, "Don't touch him, that's assault." Cameras rolled Sarah's body cam, Linda's crew, and a teen filming from his roof for TikTok. By the time we started MOVYing cones ourselves, Linda was sobbing not remorseful tears, but the honking wails of a thwarted diva meant to summon pity. "They're ruining our VY shown," she cried. "This is tyranny in khaki." A few neighbors wandered over. One guy in slippers muttered, "Finally, someone's doing something." She fined me last week for parking too near my own garage. As we cleared the road, I radioed the all clear. The convoy rolled on. The widow nodded at me through her window, teary but thankful. Linda stood amid drooping petals and sagging balloons, muttering about complaints and violet vitori. I didn't know it then, but this was just the start. Linda Grayson wasn't a one-off pest, she was a walking HOA nightmare, and she just declared war on county sanity. 3 days later I got an email. Formal apology from one public servant to another. For a fleeting moment, I thought Linda had seen reason, maybe after backlash or a stern HOA meeting. She'd realized purple wasn't a lifestyle. Then I opened the pastel PDF. Community Enhancement Disruption Report. Adorned with dove clip art and a footnote denying fault. 6 paragraphs of self-pity and veiled jabs. It demanded apologies from me, the sheriff's office, and the widow, whose overwrought presence caused resident distress. I read it thrice, each time more certain Linda wasn't a flu, she was a force. Next morning I drove to Violet Vale to scope out the community, maybe chat with board members. What I found was less suburb, more sect. Lawns mowed in perfect unison, mailboxes in uniform gray, a sign proclaiming Violet Vale, where order prevails. A jittery man named Victor greeted me as I parked. "She's not here if that's why you came," he said, adjusting a tiny flag pin. "Not looking for her," I said. "Just learning how things run." Victor snorted. "Run? They obey. Follow the rules or get a violation." Last month, she fined me for whistling while pruning, said it clashed with the birds. As if on cue, a golf cart rolled up. A woman with huge sunglasses and a clipboard. "Ellen," Victor whispered. Linda's enforcer handed him a note and drove off. "Notice of sound violation, excessive wind chime jingling over 45 seconds, he read, sighing. "She put in decibel meters last fall. Calls it balancedly VYing. It wasn't just Victor. I talked to a dozen residents that morning, each with a wild tale. One got cited for uncoordinated clothespins. Another lost her garden frog to thematic violation. HOA meetings were edicts, not discussions. Linda ran the show, from agenda to votes with veto power. Residents called her relentless, unstoppable, and fixated on hue consistency. By noon, I was outside the Violet Vale Community Center, debating entry, when a teen on a skateboard rolled up. "You're the cop from the funeral, right?" I nodded. "Follow me. You gotta see this." His name was Jake, 16, backward cap, running a TikTok exposing suburban overlords. His phone wallpaper? Linda mid-sneeze, yelling. In his garage, he had monitors, routers, and a drone rig cobbled from an old PlayStation. "I've got footage," he said. "The roadblock day and more, tons more." He showed Linda bribing the mailman with cash for fake permit envelopes. County seals printed from a home inkjet. "She's been faking permits for months," Jake said. "Closed the dog park last winter, claimed a mold scare, fenced it for safety. Really, a pup barked during her yoga." There was more. Linda hosting etiquette drills, making residents apologize to plants for stepping too close. The latest clip? A late-night HOA meeting, planning to reroute traffic for a spring balance festival, with cones, borrowed, from a construction site, and a quip about sicking animal control on a neighbor's yappy terrier. I left with a flash drive and a headache. Back at the station, Sarah nearly spat out her coffee watching. Did she just say she's patenting violet scent? We filed a report, handed it to the county clerk, who after 2 clips asked, "Is she real or a sitcom reject?" That night, Linda emailed me a cease and desist, accusing me of defamation, spying, and stealing community essence. Attached? A photo of her crying beside a ripped, HOA proud banner. 2 hours later, I was called to the community center. Linda had canceled bingo night for unapproved glee. And the seniors snapped. I arrived to Victor wielding a spatula like a blade, demanding his bingo rights. Linda hid behind a table fort, flanked by Ellen and 2 bored cronies, sighing passive-aggressively. I didn't arrest anyone. The chaos spoke for itself. Residents were cracking. Linda's floral reign was wobbling. As I left, a sticky note on the Violet Vale sign read, "Save us." This wasn't just an HOA off the rails, it was a glitter-dusted powder keg, primed to blow. And something told me Linda was only warming up.